Today we are taking a closer look at the mental health challenges that lie ahead for law enforcement.
And to find solutions, we turn to the experts who are dealing with these issues every day. Jill Switzer is the Public Policy Director for Mental Health America, Texas. Dennis Wilson is the sheriff in Limestone County, Texas, and also the president of the Sheriff's Association of Texas. And Representative Garnet Coleman has focused on mental health legislation for several legislative sessions at the Capitol.
This whole project that we're working on started because of what we see here behind us, the Peace Officers Memorial. So many police officers have died in the line of duty, shot and killed by many of the people we found that were the shooters did have a mental illness and were experiencing a mental health crisis during that time. Clearly, this is something we can't talk about just when there's a death or when there's something in the headlines, and we felt like it was important to get this group together.
We face danger every second of our life, and as a rule, peace officers stand for the good things in life. We want to do the right thing. Training is critical. Professionalism is critical. Making the right decision is critical because we pay for the mistakes that we make out on the streets.
Agencies don't always communicate between each other. Some non-adjudicated information doesn't make it down to the next agency that comes into contact with someone that is having a mental health crisis that law enforcement from a past encounter might have already known about. How do we make sure that those other agencies do find that information but not infringe on someone's privacy?
I would certainly worry about information out there that compromises the safety of people with mental illness or that infringes on their rights to an extent that's beyond what other folks experience.
If the sheriff encounters someone on a traffic stop, for example, who has made a previous threat against law enforcement in another county, and you don't know that information.
How would he know? There's no way he would know.
Well, there's actually a private system that was created by some colleagues of a trooper that was shot and killed in 2000, Randall
But if there's
Vetter.
a private system, but it's not a public system, so how would he know?
But it is available to all law
And how
enforcement
much does
agencies.
it cost?
It's about $100 per officer, and the counties have to decide to fund it. Many sheriff's offices in Texas right now have it. It's called CopSync.
I think it's a good idea.
I'm familiar with the system you're talking about. It's an excellent system, but we always talk about the money, and that money's in short supply when you go to the rural areas.
I would always express concern for individual rights. People with mental illness are not all potential criminals.
And that's the theme we've been hearing from everyone we're talking about. It's not the fault of the person that has mental illness. That person needs help, and the police officers need to know how to help that person.
That's right.
And
And
something
that's why I
needs to
brought
be
a bill.
done to protect everyone.
Well, that's right. If you treat somebody with mental illness like they're dangerous and are a criminal, or any other way that is stigmatized, we're not doing anybody any good.
It's not against the law in Texas or the United States of America to suffer from mental health illness. It's not against the law, but yet we continue to put people in the criminal justice system simply because they have mental health issues, and we don't give them an opportunity, or we don't provide services outside of the criminal justice system to make them better.
So don't criminalize mental illness.
Right.
We divert people from jail who have mental illness. San Antonio, Bexar County has done an excellent job. This is possible.
My personal belief that crisis intervention teams are the way that we should go, simply because you have a set of officers out there in the street that's been specifically trained for crisis intervention and crisis intervention training. And it's very important that those officers are able to go out there because they'll understand the system. They're not like the regular street police officer that's on the street. Crisis intervention has many, many pluses. There's a lot of best practices that have been put in place already with money that was provided in the previous years, but it's a small pot of money that needs to enlarge because all areas of Texas need to be exposed to crisis intervention teams, in my opinion.
How can we make that happen?
Well, first of all, I started making it happen with the John Metters Act, with the 16 hours, and somehow people seem to forget that at least they have, every officer in the state of Texas has 16 hours of training in de-escalation. The reason I'm bringing the 40 hours, because it's not enough. So at least if you have the officers trained in some way, you can form the crisis intervention team in any size police department. But I think if everyone is trained, then they go into the situation in such a way that they understand what they might be confronting.
Many communities that do have the crisis intervention teams, one of the features they like about it is that they partner their officers with mental health experts or community players that really help them respond to those crises happening in the field.
We need to take a step back and understand the role of law enforcement. They're not social workers. And we need to expect and fund local community services so that, as Sheriff Wilson said, there's a place for folks to go rather than the county jail.
Do you think further legislation is needed to require every law enforcement agency to create a crisis intervention team?
I think without the resources, depending upon how you deployed it, that we would have to provide some resources if we're going to make that mandate. But I do believe they have the tools already to start.
I wonder if you all believe that 40 hours of training as a cadet, a one-time, right at the beginning of someone's career, is that enough, or should it continue throughout someone's career?
The 40 hours is excellent for the academy, but I believe you have to continue to have refreshers throughout that career. You can't bank on the fact that I'm going to train someone in 40 hours. First of all, in an academy, the young cadets that are in police academies across our nation are wanting to get out on the streets, and mental health is not a popular subject with them. So therefore the training has to be ongoing and updated and kept fresh, because there's always new techniques out there that need to be implemented in the field. So if you say I'm going to train you for 40 hours and walk away from it, I don't think you'll be successful in what we're trying to accomplish in the mental health field.
What we're supposed to do in government is solve problems, not run away from them. There are certain tools that we can use to keep everyone safe and also have a better dialogue between the public and the police.
So clearly communication and collaboration is key. Thank you for the work you're doing this session, all of you, and we look forward to seeing how that plays out ahead of the next session. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank
you
you
very
Thanks
much.
for having us.